This is the Kia EV9. It's a 3-row SUV that costs 1.3 crores. It's Kia's new flagship in India. So let's see what it's all about. Now, of course, you can't miss this really striking presence of the EV9, and that's largely down to this really vertically stacked headlamp cluster. Now, you've seen this in many Kia products, but it's really quite exaggerated here. And just going with a theme, of course, you have that blank face, it's an EV, but just in the way these LEDs, they're sort of completely flush, sort of patterned into the plastic, which is really high quality, looks really high class and very different, and that just flows into it, so it gives it a very different look. Now, this huge thing is the DRL. It's somewhat similar to what you've seen in the new Seltos and Sonet, but of course, sort of exaggerated to a higher degree. Here you see the indicators working, and there's more to it. Now, of course, this car is completely feature loaded, so you get this 360-degree camera, you get the ADAS sensor, and there's also a lot of aerodynamic aids that are going on, of course, this being an EV. So you have these air curtains which sort of close and open like in a lot of high-end cars, and also some inlets here to sort of channel air through the big body of the car. Now, the EV9 is based on the eGMP architecture. You've seen this in many Hyundais and Kias, and it's the same that's in the EV6, but of course it's been enlarged into this new shape. So you have all those benefits of a born electric sort of model. So you have this 52-liter frunk here. This is the all-wheel drive model, which is why it's slightly smaller than, say, what the two-wheel drive model would have been. And there's also good drag coefficient. It's 0.28. It's maybe not the best, but it's pretty decent for such a large, big SUV. Now here's a look at just how big the EV9 is. It's almost at par with the Carnival in terms of its sheer size. But of course, there's that SUV sort of shape to it. So it's got that butch presence to it. Now I'll give you some numbers. It's over 5 meters long. The wheelbase is about 3.1 meters. And you have these massive 20-inch wheels. Now you have this really neat aero design to it, 20 inches. And there are a few more stuff that you find in EVs nowadays. You have these flush door handles. Of course, a roof rail, this being an EV. And yeah, like I said, even though the front is really quite exaggerated, you see the glass here, it's quite functional, it's quite practical, large windows, this sort of C-pillar here, the windscreen here, the quarter glass, it's really quite large to sort of give you that family SUV sense to it. Now there's also quite a bit of ground clearance for an EV at least. There's 198 mm, that's quite significant for an EV. Now given that the Kia EV9 is right at the top of the Kia sort of food chain, it's the flagship of the brand, you do notice that the interiors too sort of reflect that. They're quite a step above what you expect from, say, a Seltos, even the Carnival as we know it. And you really notice it in this sort of modern design. Now there are some soft materials. It's of course not up to the grade of the full fat luxury brands that the Kia is competing with these cars, but it's really quite good. You won't feel shortchanged for the price, I feel, to a certain extent as well. But you have this sort of floating effect to this fabric panel here, these air vents, the way they function, sort of different textures, just the right hint of chrome here. And all of that really does make you feel quite special. But what's really striking is again that in the way Kia has used that electric architecture to good effect. Now, to start with, yeah, these buttons, some of you, this sort of capacitive sort of sense to it may not be the best. It does have some haptic feedback to it, but it's not the easiest to use on the move. But yeah, you still do have some tactile controls, say for the climate controls. But now coming to what is actually quite unique is this section, because it's based on that skateboard architecture, it's completely flat. So you do notice that you have a lot of space here, your usual many USB ports and 12-volt outlets. And even here, I must say, even though it is in the lower reaches of the compartment, quality is not that bad. It's still reasonably good. And then there's this sort of center section here. You get this sliding cover which holds these cup holders. It's very European, it's very high quality, which is great. You have a few buttons, say, for the cameras. I'll put them up here. Again, you've seen these cameras in other Hyundais and Kia, so that's not very different, but it's reasonably good quality. And then coming back here, you notice that there's more features here. There's a wireless charger here, another small space here, and there's even ambient lighting here, which is quite great. And there's also quite a large sort of cup holder here, but that's for the rear passenger. Now the seats themselves, they are quite comfortable. I mean, the fabric is good quality, maybe not luxury car level quality, but good. But you have pretty much every functionality here. It's heated, cooled, massaging, so completely powered any way you want it. There are 10 airbags around, so in that respect, you're properly sorted. And then you also have a new screen setup now. This is slightly different from what you've seen before in a Hyundai or a Kia. Now this is slightly different from what you've seen in a Kia before. It's 12.3 inches. So in terms of size, it's maybe not all that different, but you see it has this new, smarter, more vibrant widget-based layout. Now we can't go in detail here, but this is broadly what it looks like. And there's also a redundant sort of climate panel here, where you can sort of control the AC controls, and it gives this. You can also control the rear AC vents from here, the rear sort of climate control. It's got 3-zone climate control. So it gives you that flush feeling, so which is quite smart. I mean, it is a bit difficult to use, sort of gets in your way with the steering wheel, but otherwise it does its job. Now this instrument cluster is again 12.3 inches, but again the graphics have become more vibrant. There's more colors here. It's a bit more modern to use. Again, it has this squared off widget theme to it, so that's quite different. And then you have this sort of squarish steering wheel. Now again, in terms of quality, it's again very good, not luxury car good, but still very good. And here's a unique touch. You have the drive modes right on the steering wheel, which is pretty neat. Now there are some other really quite nice features. You have a head-up display. You have this digital sort of IRVM, which you find in, say, Land Rovers and those kind of cars. And a large sort of split panoramic sunroof. Now something else that you get, which is proper luxury car territory, is the Meridian 14 speaker surround sound audio system. But for many of you, this is where all the action is with this car. And I must say that it really is a luxurious space. Again, you may not think that it's worth 1.3 crores, but it's absolutely packed, and it does give you that very modern, very new age feel to it. But I must say the materials, they're still quite great. You have soft materials, even in the second row here. This headlining is really quite nice, got this suede finish to it. That's really high quality stuff. And then of course, even the seat, the way it's sort of done up, you know, it's a very different seat. But this open sort of structure gives you a good view out. Now it's not that theatre type seating that you have in some big SUVs, but it's good. Now this seat is absolutely feature packed again, like the front. So you have heating, cooling, as well as a massaging function right here. It's quite a vigorous sort of massage. You can literally see me moving probably, but it's there. Now other than that, I'll just tell you how the space here is like. As you can see, for me it's not bad. I have a decent degree of headroom. Maybe someone 6 feet-ish, maybe someone who's around 6 feet will find it a bit hard. But again, there's a fully flat floor, this being an EV. There's a big sort of central open space here. This thing is adjustable, which is great. And I have a good deal of legroom, as you can see. Now, given the over 3 meter wheelbase and the fact that you have another row to accommodate, it's not massive here, but you get this boss function that you have in many Kia cars, just like the Carnival, so that's great. And like I just mentioned, it's got a fully flat floor, so practicality is great. And there's more here. There's this absolutely massive drawer here. You can literally put like a small handbag or maybe even a small tab or something over here. And you have the controls for your third climate zone here. And this you've seen in something like the Carens, these really useful vents. You don't have anything on the pillars, but it's there. And of course, this grab handle, which is quite nice considering it's not a very high car. And then of course, something that we like, sunshade. This is quite unique. You have a tumble fold function for the second row. A lot of these powered seats don't have it, and when you do tumble it forward, there is enough space, at least for me, to get in. As you can see, this is best reserved for shorter journeys. Now again, I can bring this seat behind like this, so it's very convenient. So again, that kind of practicality that we've seen in the Carnival and Carens that Kia does so well, that's all present here, which is really great. And now this car really starts to sort of show its worth here. Now, just like these front 2-row seats which have that relaxation mode, they really recline to a nearly flat, very deep angle. This one also does that. So you can get into a comfortable position here, and as you can see, for me there is a good deal of knee room. And I can sort of tuck my feet in, so that's not too bad. Now, yeah, the underthigh support is not great, but I'm still sitting quite high up. It's not the worst backseat. In fact, it's quite nice. And in terms of amenities, you have some deep storage pockets here, a Type-C outlet, a small speaker here, your own EC vents. You don't have a separate climate zone here, but I think it does the job. So even on a fairly long journey, you will be quite comfortable in the third row, especially if you're not a very tall adult. Now you'll notice that again the rear is quite striking, quite different. You have this really different, again a very sculpted look to it, for want of a better word, and these really striking light patterns for the huge sort of light cluster that there is, especially in the way it sort of splits and goes into the boot lid here. Now you won't mistake it for anything else. It's got that angular look to it, like I just said. And then again, there's a good deal of practicality built into this. Now this is 331 liters. I'll have to confirm if it's with all the 3 rows up, but in either way, you notice that it's quite a useful space here. Now, given all the powered functions in the seats, you'll notice that you can literally fold not just the third row, but even the second row completely flat. So you have a massive flat space. Again, it's not an especially high lift, so picking things up won't be too difficult. So yeah, in terms of practicality, it's great again. And this is very different. You have a 3-pin socket here. So you can literally power any device that you have with you. There are a few more sockets here. Now this looks like a heavy duty socket. I'm not entirely sure what that means, what you might use it for, but that orange sort of coloring means that it's high voltage stuff. I better not mess with it. And there's more stuff here too. There is an internal release for the boot lid, which is great, and a 12-volt outlet. And then of course you have your usual hooks and crannies here, and a neat sort of arrangement for the parcel tray. Now India gets the absolute top spec of the Kia EV9, so you get the dual motor setup with the larger battery. That's 99.8 kilowatt, which gives you 561 kilometers of range as per the ARAI cycle. Now that should mean about 450 to 500 kilometers in the real world. But what's really striking is the performance. You have 384 PS, 700 Newton meters, and a 0 to 100 time of 5.3 seconds. Now in terms of charging, you can go from 10 to 80% charge in just 24 minutes. It's got the 350 watt charging. It's got the 800 volt architecture, which helps with that. And you also have vehicle to load and vehicle to X functions. So all the top grade EV stuff, this car has it. So that was the Kia EV9. So what do you think? Was it worth that 1.3 crore price tag? Or would you choose one of its competitors? Now with that price, it competes with a lot of luxury car products from different brands, mainly European brands. So let us know what you think about the Kia EV9. Would you consider it for the sheer practicality and just how much car you get for the money? Let us know in the comments.